Hey guys, it's Lucas and Esther. We are back again talking about this new series, this new unit that we're starting, Bible Studies for Life for Kids. We're going to start off with the lesson for September 1st, 2019, and this starts the brand new fall quarter. So with the new fall quarter, we've got new leader books, which have a bunch of new information. The font in it's kind of changed. They've rearranged some of the stuff. We noticed that when we were going through our adult Bible studies guide. And if you use the adult or the college or youth Bible studies for life, we also have a podcast that goes over those things that myself, Esther's children's ministry intern, John Anderson, and our youth director, Aaron Howard, we go over those things. And we've noticed that there have been some changes to the book and the leader guide, which actually makes it a little bit more fluid. It makes it easier to go through and to look at. This Sunday, we're going to be talking about when Jesus went to go heal the official's son. That scripture is coming out of the Gospel of John, chapter 4, and that's going to be in verses 46 through 54. We always like to read those because it's one of those things that we feel like is really important. Oftentimes, the study itself doesn't go through those verses, but we want to make sure that that happens. We really can't emphasize enough the importance of the teacher and the leader actually going through the scripture and knowing the scriptural basis of everything that we're talking about, even though the story covers it really well. So starting in the Gospel of John, chapter 4, we're going to start in verse 46. It says, he, and this is talking about Jesus, he went to Cana of Galilee where he had turned the water into wine. There was a certain royal official whose son was ill at Capernaum. When this man heard that Jesus had come from Judea into Galilee, he went to see him and pleaded with him to come down and heal his son since he was about to die. Jesus told him, unless you people see signs and wonders, you will not believe. Sir, the official said to him, come down before my boy dies. Go, Jesus told him, your son will live. The man believed what Jesus had said to him and departed. While he was still going down, his servants met him, saying that this boy, his boy, was alive. He asked them at what time he got better. Yesterday at 1 p.m, the fever left him, they answered. The father realized that this was the very hour at which Jesus told him, your son will live. So he himself believed, along with his whole household. Now this was the second sign that Jesus performed after he came from Judah to Galilee.
It's incredible to think about the authority that Jesus holds, that he could just speak from, I think in a few minutes we'll take a look at a map and see exactly how far away Jesus was, but distance had no impact at all on his power. It's incredible. So we are going to be looking at this new book, and basically what I'd like to do right now is just kind of go through what's over here on the left side for you on page 10. So we're starting out with a level of biblical learning that is Jesus performed miracles through the power of God. The scripture reference that we just read is from John 4, and the unit verse that we're going to be teaching the kids to memorize is right here on our poster, and it says, Jesus of Nazareth was a man... We're going to cut this? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Just being sure. Jesus of Nazareth was a man attested to you by God with miracles, wonders, and signs that God did among you through him. And that's Acts 2:22. And we are going to come up with some fun little hand signs to help the kids memorize that. And so this week, as you are getting ready to teach your kids this information, I want you to be thinking about miracles that you have seen in your life, times that you have seen evidence of God's power. Maybe it wasn't through a physical healing, but God changed someone's heart, or you got a job, or something that the Lord did in your life. Just be thinking about that and be ready to share that with the kids.
Absolutely. On page 10 of the Leader's Guide, we see some things that it asks us as leaders to be looking at and to be thinking about. And we'll start there on page 10. It says, Jesus' love for his people and his powerful acts on their behalf mean he is much more than a superhero. It means that he is the Son of God. Only the power of his heavenly Father could he love so deeply and act with such authority. It does not get more super than that. The Bible calls his superpowers miracles, signs, wonders, mighty works, and powers. John calls the 7 miracles he records about Jesus signs. John's gospel points to life-changing faith decisions. You will know a miracle or sign by an immediate and powerful action of God that reveals his character or purpose. An official traveled quite a distance to see Jesus. The man's son was dying. He begged Jesus to come back and to heal his son. Jesus was aware of the people around him who were there only to see another miracle. He addressed the crowd, acknowledging that they did not believe. They just liked the show. Seeing the father's belief, Jesus assured him that his son would live. The father did not seek a public spectacle, but a private miracle. The man had faith that when he returned, his son would be healed. As he traveled back, and before he arrived home, his servants met him with the news that his son's fever had left him. Upon further revelation, he discovered that his son's healing happened the very moment Jesus said his son would live. This was no coincidence. Instead, it was a divine confirmation of God's love and power. Jesus performs miracles even today. When and where have you witnessed a miracle? This is one of the questions that it wants us to think about. And I think for many of us, especially in the Western world, and the reason I say that is because having traveled and done a lot of mission work in third world countries, they have a different way that they think and that they believe. And we had a friend of mine, Amanda, who is a missionary in Burkina Faso, come and speak to our church a few years ago. And one of the things that Amanda said is that they don't have to do anything to the Bible whenever they teach it, and people come to the Lord. And I was like, what do you mean you don't have to do anything? And she said, in the United States, we have to explain what it means, when somebody's going to thresh wheat, what it means to harvest, what it means to reap, because so much of what we do now has nothing to do with agriculture. Yet so many of these people, they know, what all those things mean because they're seasoned. So all they have to do is tell the stories of Jesus, and people are coming and getting saved. Whereas where we are in the advanced societies and cultures, it takes a lot more. And so I think a lot of times when we believe that something miraculous, or when we see something miraculous happen, we might not necessarily believe that it was a miracle.
Mm-hmm. I have been reading a book, just kind of a side note, that addresses some of this, just about the fact that Christianity is the only main religion whose center moves. Every other main religion, the center stays where it was, but with Christianity, the center of growth changes as people's hearts change. And I think that we see right now that in the southern hemisphere, there seems to be an openness and an easier understanding of gospels and movement of the Lord. It's pretty interesting.
Absolutely. So when you think about this question, one of the things that would be really great to relate to the kids is that miracles happen even today, and that they can happen on different scales. We've had people that we've experienced incredible healings and watched a person's situation in the hospital change overnight. And then other times where we've prayed and prayed and prayed, and then it's been a slow and steady thing. And one of the things that I think is an incredible miracle is that God gave us, and you as a doctor know, God gave us an incredible amount of wisdom and intelligence and understanding of his creation so that we could create things like medicines. I mean, the fact that something like penicillin, for example, even exists is a miracle. The fact that they let mold be discovered as a way to heal something is not just an incredible testament to the medical professionals and the scientists that discovered that, but also to the fact that God created something like that could become something that heals the human body is absolutely incredible. And that in itself is a miracle. So helping kids to recognize that even scientific discovery is a miracle and a work of God is a really, really important thing, because that's something that they can carry with them as they go on. How have you seen God in action is another question. What does it reveal about his character and his purposes? And I think those things in particular for new Christians and for young Christians are really important, because the more they can learn about the character of God whenever they're young, the more they're going to be able to hold on to that. The less these Bible stories become fairy tales and the more they become real. We can see in this story how much Jesus loves and cares for his people, but we can also see in a young person's changed life in the way that God provides for them and keeps their family safe, or the things that he's done for their mom or their dad, or if they've got a younger sibling, how God knit them together in their mother's womb and made it possible for them to have that kiddo. Those are amazing things, and they can reveal just how much God loves and cares about us, even from a very small, young age.
It's true. We need to not always work to over-explain something that is clearly a gift from the Lord, and just call it what it is. It's
Absolutely.
A blessing, right?
Yeah.
So teachers, as you arrive to welcome your kids, you're going to be getting here Sunday morning a few minutes early. So if you are working the early big church service time, you'll be here at 8:15. If you are working our Sunday school hour, you're going to be here at 9:30. And then for the big kid main church time, you're going to be here at 10:45 for that. So as kids come into your area, you're going to have music on, you're going to be welcoming them. They'll have their names on their stickers, so be sure you welcome them by name. Find out how school is going, touch base about how their week has been, try to engage with them at their level. So when you feel like you've welcomed the majority of your kids into class, we are going to play an introduction game. We always like to start off with something fun. So this is going to be a cup game. You've got 27 cups here. On the inside of every cup is a book of the New Testament.
Oh, nice.
So what you're going to do is spread this stack out all over the room, and they have to find the cups and then build the stack in order that the books occur. So the kids know a little song that goes through the books of the Bible, but you can also,
very cool.
Yeah, we'll have a list out that they can jump back and reference. So you can play that game for as long as you want to. You'll have a good time with that one. They always like to hide and find things. So we'll start off with the cups, and then we are going to go to the introductory activity that's on page 12. So you're going to call out situations and invite the kids to show how they would feel about that. So we're going to use our whiteboard over here for that, and you're going to draw a smiley face on one side and a frowny face on the other side. And then you'll talk through these different situations that it gives. If you got a bad grade on a test, if you had to eat broccoli, if you got to go to a water park, if you got to watch your favorite movie, if you had to sweep the floor, if you were sick. And feel free to just add as many of these as you want to. Come up with lots of different situations, and especially if the kids are really enjoying it, that's going to be a good way for you to kind of get them thinking about how they would feel if something happy happened or something sad. So you're going to explain to them that today's Bible story is about a little boy who was sick. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how do they feel when they're sick, how do their parents feel when they're sick, what do their caretakers do for them when they're sick. So kind of get them thinking about that. Why a father would be willing to walk so many miles for his sick son. So once you've kind of got them thinking about that, then you're going to move into the middle story room, and you're going to watch the missions video with the kiddos. And that one for this week is called God's Heart. So we have the new DVD with our new materials, and that'll be in the machine for you. So then you will watch the missions video, and next is going to be the story time. So here is our story page for this week, and I'll just read you what's printed here on the back. It says, Jesus traveled to Cana, the town where he had done his first miracle when he turned water into wine at a wedding. A royal official heard that Jesus was in Cana. The official's son was very sick, so he traveled several miles from Capernaum to Cana. And let's take a look and see exactly how far that was.
Yeah, let's go over to our map and we'll show you guys exactly what that distance is. Okay guys, so we're here in front of our map. This is essentially what Jerusalem, Israel, Judah would have looked like during Jesus' time while it was under Roman control. So our father our father in the story, traveled from Capernaum, which is up here at the top, and walked about 20 miles from Capernaum to Cana. Then you can see that distance right there. So this isn't a small distance in time. A person can walk on average about 15 to 18 miles a day. Right. So this is probably a one-day trip if the guy's booking it, and we assume he probably is. His kid's sick. So he is going all the way. This is a day trip to get to Jesus whenever he heard that Jesus was in Cana. And then after that, it's an entire day trip back. Right. So it's no wonder that after taking the day to walk down there, talking to Jesus about his son being sick, and then coming back home, that his servants meeting him along the way, he would have had no idea what was going on back home. He didn't have a cell phone. He's not getting text messages from anybody. Mom's not putting a Facebook status up that says, "Oh my gosh, our kid's healed." So who knows where along the lines they met. But even if they met halfway, the dad's been unsure now for 24 to 36 hours of what's actually happened to his son before he gets word that his son is healed.
And this fever had to have been raging for a few days before he left. Like, it was no mild illness that he would have hopped on a donkey or packed up a bag to start walking for. So this little boy had been really sick for quite a while. And as a parent, I think we all just kind of go, well, obviously he would do that. But this meant days that he couldn't work, that, you know, his family could have been at risk. And so it was a really big deal that he went to pursue Jesus' help. And I love his response when Jesus said, you know, you want to show before you'll believe. He didn't even argue about that. He was just like, please heal my son.
Yeah, I just need you to heal my son.
Yeah.
That's it. End of story.
I relate to that.
Yeah, so we're going to hop back over to the table and finish up our lesson over there.
Okay, so it was almost 20 miles that dad walked.
That's a long way.
Right. That would have been right about a day's journey one way to take care of his child. So the official then, when he got there, he pleaded with Jesus, "Come and heal my son. He's about to die." Jesus said, "Unless you see signs and wonders, you will not believe in me." But the official did not give up. "Sir, please come down before my boy dies." "Go, your son will live," Jesus promised. The royal official believed Jesus and left. As the official traveled home, his servants met him with great news. His son was alive. The official asked, "What time did he get better?" "His fever broke yesterday at 1 p.m, they replied. The official remembered that was the exact moment when Jesus had told him, "Your son will live." The official put his trust in Jesus, and because of the official's faith, everyone in his household believed in Jesus too. And we've got some review questions that are right here. You're going to go over those with the kids, and those will be what you kind of use as at least a launching point for your time with the kids later on.
Very cool. One of the things that's really interesting to me about this is the way, not just that it all happens and that the Lord orchestrated all of it, but also they believe, and I say they being like most biblical scholars or a large number of biblical scholars, that when Jesus turned water into wine, it was actually at John's wedding. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting that John is recording the stuff from that time and era.
That is interesting.
We are going to then, we'll hop into our Kids Corner, right? Yeah, because this will take us up to service.
So we've got one more filler game that you might want to use.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Let me reach across you here. Sorry about that.
Go for it.
Not my best waitressing manners. Okay, so when you're done recapping the story, thank you. We've got this little dots game. So starting point is going to be the family's home, and then ending point down there is Jesus. And each kid gets a Q-tip, and they have to work together to try to build a pathway to Jesus.
Yeah, and the working together portion of that's really going to be the challenge.
That's going to be where your teacher skills come in. So one at a time, they each get to build a little part of the path. And then we're going to use these Q-tips again in a few minutes when we come back
do a
after
hygiene
our activity.
lesson.
That's right.
Yeah.
So after we're done with the game, you're going to be kind of keeping an eye on the clock. When it's about 10:40, then you'll have the kids line up, and we will go into Big Church, where we sit on the front row, and we always enjoy singing a song with everybody in Big Church, and then we'll come to you up on stage.
Right on. And whenever that happens, there's always a few questions that I ask the kiddos. The first one is, how are you guys? And the second is, what did you learn in Sunday school? So depending on what kind of answers we get, then we'll go over some of the lesson questions that you see on the right-hand column. So if you guys in our Sunday school hour want to help coach up the kids to, hey, you know, this is what Pastor Lucas is going to ask you, it's literally going to be the exact questions that are on the right-hand side. What was the first miracle that Jesus did in Cana, the one we just talked about, when he turned water into wine? Why did the royal official come to see Jesus in Cana? Well, because he needed his son healed. Let's see. Why did the servants say that the son's fever broke, and when did it happen? Well, because he was healed. And the second, it happened at the exact time that Jesus said, your son is going to live. So all of those things are going to be really quick, easy answers for the kids. They always do a phenomenal job of elaborating and bringing in whatever else they want to, whether it be, well, what was it last week? We heard about the moon and something about a T-Rex. And as always, Gracie let us know what a great dancer she is. So those were all great things that we got to experience during our Kids Corner. But each and every one of them, really, if they know those basic answers to the questions, will be able to participate. And it really helps. It helps me, but it also encourages our church as they get to see that those interactions are not only good, like time for them to respond, but also as they're seeing like how much the kids are actually learning in here.
I just want to pause 1 second and give props to all my teachers. I am always so proud of the teachers when the kids sit there and basically retell the entire story word for word. Like, it's incredible. You guys
really
do an
cool.
amazing job.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're all done entertaining the grown-ups, then we will come on back here again.
We kick y'all out of the service.
We get to come play while the grown-ups have to be quiet and still and take notes. So
we hope they take notes.
Y'all should take notes. Okay, so this piece of it from the time with Pastor Lucas to the end of what we're going to cover here is the same whether we're talking about the early 8:30 big church time or the later 11 o'clock. So if you're scheduled to serve at 8:30 this morning, all of this bit applies to you now, okay? So when we get back here into our main room, you may need to reorient the kids to listening to you for instruction. If you want to do that, I recommend that you start back off with the happy and sad game. Get them all your friends to circle up around the whiteboard, and you can play that game for just a few rounds to get them kind of listening to you again. When you feel like you have their attention, then we are going to come to our story room where we will have snacks and we're going to watch the main video. Now, last time they actually did finish up Gumshoe Lane, so this week we're going to start a whole new little drama series.
Oh no!
It was really cute though. They had they fast forwarded and had all the kids be grown-ups in 20 years and show how God had worked in their life, and it was good.
All right, interesting.
So we'll see what's up next. But we'll have 2 little videos to watch. There will be a recap of the story, and that will be exactly the same words the kids have already had on their story page. And then we'll have some kind of a dramatic video. And then when we're done with the videos, then I always take a minute and go back over our story page just so that the kids who weren't here during Sunday school hour have a chance to get all that information. When we're done with that and we feel like everybody kind of understands to their age level as well as they can, then we're going to break up the group into 2 different sections, and we will go to game time and a craft time. Again, teachers, divide up your kids however you feel like is most appropriate for that group at that time. It might be boys or girls, it might be older and younger. You just make a decision about how you need your groups to interact well together. So for craft time,
Woohoo.
I'm extra excited about this.
Naturally.
Because we're going to make first aid bags.
Very nice.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, I am in the healthcare industry. I am a midwife and a nurse practitioner, and I get to work at Parkland. So I love kids being ready for an emergency. So they are going to take 4 Ziploc bags and their favorite color of paper. They're going to make a clever little book like this, and then we are going to stuff these pouches with things like Band-Aids, antiseptic wipes, things like that they might need.
Awesome.
So they will have a first aid kit, and then in the game time, we actually have several great selections to choose from. I didn't feel like any of these were perfect for our group, so I came up with something different.
Nice.
So what we're going to do is, for game, we are going to have some skit teams who are going to act out a part of the story.
Which I am really excited about because our kids ministry intern, John Anderson, helps me with a lot of our editing of our footage and those kind of things that we do for not just these videos, but for the podcast that we put out online, if you want to check any of that stuff out. But I'm going to have John video these so that if any of them are particularly good, or particularly entertaining. We'll
There
put it
you
that
go.
way. We'll
That's
put it
the
that
better
way.
word.
Then those kids might have the opportunity to show up in our announcements or on some videos and stuff that we put on Facebook or Instagram. And we're actually, because of some weird market research that we've discovered, we will be, within the next month, actually starting a TikTok page for the church, which is against everything that I want to believe as a human.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, ask your kids. And that's exactly what I had to do. I had to ask some of our high school students. I was like, do you know what TikTok is? And they're like, yeah, it's awesome. Like that? Okay, great.
Here we come. Awesome.
I'm feeling like an old man.
Good.
These
good.
darn kids
Here,
in their
do you want
TikTok.
to borrow my readers?
I might need to.
So what'll happen with Mr. John is he is going to divide his group of kids up into 2 teams, and each team together is going to decide which part of the story they're going to act out, and then they will quickly, just on the fly, come up with that. And then the other group has to try to guess what they were acting out.
Oh, very cool.
So I figured that will equate, and you can do time-wise as many different chunks of the story as you want to, while the rest of us are making our first aid kits. So when we're about done from each group, we'll rotate through the stations, and that will be what parents will come into as they are picking up their children. We'll still be in our activities working on things. Last week when we made the storm bottles, I had divided up the kids into boys and girls for that particular week. And so as the parents were coming back, I had the boys back here making their storm bottles, and I had lined up all the bottles and had the kids telling me how much of each food coloring they wanted, and I was talking to them about the molecular weights of liquids.
Oh my goodness.
And they love it. They super love it.
I'm sure they do.
At one point, Tucker leaned over to one of the other boys and he goes, sometimes she talks all sciencey, but it's cool. So one of the dads got to come in and hear all that. It was fun.
Yeah, so Bible study / chemistry lesson last week.
Sometimes.
That's awesome.
God made the rules of chemistry.
That's true. We want our kids to be well-rounded.
So then as parents are picking up their kids, they're going to receive one of these take-home sheets. On this side, it goes through what our story was for the week. And again, that's the exact picture and the exact words the kids have heard multiple times. Down here, they've got some lessons, or rather verses that they can read through as a family every day. And then on the back, we've got a couple of different levels of activities that the kids can work on when they get home.
Again, we always want to make sure that we direct the parents to these little take-home pages. One, because they tell the story and it makes for an opportunity to talk about the Bible in the home, but also please, please, please draw the parents' attention to that bottom left-hand corner of the page where it goes through the verses, so that they can have an opportunity to, even if it's just a little bit, that they can have an opportunity to go through kind of a structured verse, verse lesson with their kids every day. One of the things that we really believe that if we can get all of our parents to participate in this, or at least a vast majority of them, we can build a lot of conversations with our kids about the things that their parents are talking to them about. And one of the things that I've experienced whenever I was young, my mom used to do devotions with us every morning. And one of the things was that we had to answer some questions, but whether we talked about it because we were annoyed that we had to do the devotion, or whether we talked about it because we thought it was good, or that God was showing us something, we were having discussions about the Bible within the 4 kids that were in my family. And no matter what it was, we had things to talk about that were biblical and centered on Christ. And even if the kids talk about, well, my mom read me this really boring thing, well, maybe one of our older kids can tell them why it was interesting. Or one of the younger kids says, well, my mom said this, and that's interesting. And then it sparks new conversations and really helps to build biblical foundations of having a daily Bible study, making sure that, the kids have the Word every day. As parents and as leaders, one of the best things that we can do is to put a premium on the individual time that we spend with the Lord and the time that we do it as a family. What we show kids as things of importance or priorities, they're going to pick up as things that are important to them and priorities to them as well.
Absolutely. I'm just realizing I forgot to tell you guys, if I may, I'll just jump back to these Q-tips very quickly.
Right.
The other thing we're going to do with these, if you have time, you can work this in anywhere, is they're going to use these to spell out some of the words from the story.
Oh,
so
cool.
Power, Jesus, miracle, Cana, Father, whatever words you want to spit out. Judea,
Capernaum.
Galilee, just get big with it.
That'll be awesome. We do have some kids that aren't strong readers or spellers, so that might be another thing that we take pictures of, as we had a really, really close encounter with our youth students, and
It's true.
really creative spellings and misspellings of the word Gentiles, which were just pure entertainment for our staff this week.
You need to be careful with your handling of Gentiles.
You really do. It's a tricky situation. Well, all that said, we really do hope that you guys have a great week. We think that this unit is going to be the kickoff to a really great series of lessons. As always, we want to make sure that we present the ABCs of the gospel each and every week, that just as we're talking about the way that Jesus healed this official son, that Jesus can do the same thing in our hearts, that our sickness is sin, and that Jesus came to heal us just as he did heal this official son, and that the miracle that Jesus provided for that official son is one that can take place in your heart today. And use that as our segue into the ABCs. That A, that we admit that we're sinners. That B, that we believe that Jesus was the Son of God. And C, is it confess or commit? What is it? What is it through this? Yeah, there we go.
Confess or choose. Either one of those will work.
All right. Well, we hope that you guys have a great week. Thanks again for watching, and God bless.